holla. If you hear, you boys, welcome back to the Headaches and Hot Takes podcast. I'm your host, Chaperian, alongside my co-host, Hern, a.k.a. Honky Tonka Jahari, the Herniator.
I am Tonka Jahari, but I would never order a whole pizza for myself.
But like it's like it's already here, right? So like, we might as well. We shouldn't waste it.
I'm not gonna waste food though. Drops the pizza and like falls on it.
You're not just the honky
Joe's
tonk
like, it's
man.
okay, Tonka.
Honky Tonka Jahari. So you're
Honky
cool,
tonk,
you're
honky
cocky,
tonk.
you're fat. It's a reference there that maybe one listener would know, combined with the Tonka Jahari joke. Other than that, no one else is going to know that reference. So,
Let's say you got me.
we're doing something a little different this time around. It's been a long time since we've grilled each other with some sound effects and made each other, put our knowledge to the test. So I've got some prepared for you today that we're going to jump right into. And I want to know, can you, for 2 points for each sound effect, tell me the game it's from and what the sound effect is? Some of these are harder, admittedly. Some of these are really easy. My guess is 5 sound effects for up to 2 points. And for one of them, I actually have a part 2, which might help you if you struggle with it. If you struggle with it, I'm going to give you a second one for one of these to help you.
Okay.
But on a scale of 0 points to 10 points, I think you're going to get like 5 total.
Do I get 1 point if I'm like, okay, that's Mario, but I don't know what it is? Like,
You have to be specific with the title and what the sound effect is, within reason. Like, it's not the exact name for the sound effect, but like, oh, this is when you do blank or whatever necessarily.
Right.
You have the sound effects. We'll play it on the recording as well, right? Easy peasy. Just throw it right in there for a second. Anytime you're listening to it, we should go ahead and do it. So let's start with our first sound effect here. Buddy, listen to sound number 1. Play it for our good audience and tell me what you think it is.
Sound 1. I know that's Donkey Kong.
Okay.
It sounds like you're jumping over a barrel.
2 points on the board. I'm going to stop you right there. I'm not going to let you overthink it. 2 points on the board right
Wow.
there. Way to do it, bro.
Okay.
I thought that would be tricky. Because you're like, that's Mario, right? And he's doing this thing. And no, it's Donkey Kong. You're spot on.
Yeah.
AKA Jumpman is Mario's name in that, right?
Yes. True.
And I love that sound effect. More specifically, I actually love the NES version of that sound effect. Because that is when I have played the arcade version of Donkey Kong the most, more so than on an arcade cabinet. So I'm actually much more nostalgic for the 8-bit version of that than I am for that one. Which I guess it's all 8-bit, right? Shouldn't it all be 8-bit? What do you think?
I don't know when exactly we went to like 16.
It's
was
weird.
16 like SNES?
Yeah.
Or is that up to 32? I think SNES might have been 16.
8-bit and SNES was 16, and then they jumped straight to 64. Sega did a 32-bit. I believe it was the Sega Saturn that was competing, or was it the Jaguar? Is that what it was?
I couldn't name you. Other than the Genesis, I could not name you a Sega console.
That's completely reasonable. So
yeah,
if you give me 2 seconds here, I actually do have the NES version of that exact sound effect that you could play. I think it sounds so much better, dude. Yes.
Yeah, I want to play them.
Put it in. It's so much better. I should have just done that one, but I feel like you had a better chance of getting this one, so I didn't want to do that to you. Here is the NES version of the exact same sound effect. I think it sounds so much better.
Yeah, it's cleaner.
So much cleaner, right?
It's cleaner.
On the arcade, it's like bow bow bow.
Yeah, you could tell that's on like an arcade cabinet. The first one.
Yeah, but shouldn't it be better? They were like higher quality, like higher capabilities back then.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
Would you have got it if I did that one or no? Probably not, right? You're less familiar with the.
I recognize the boom. I recognize the jump noise.
Yeah, because it's very
before anything else.
So
I think it would have been harder if that were, because that second one does not have the jump noise in it. It's just
no, it doesn't.
So I think.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Moving on now, we've got a second sound for you. I'm gonna put money where my mouth is on this one. Even if you get 1 point on this, you're not getting both. I know this is harder, but I want to see. I was talking with my wife last night, and it was interesting. We had a conversation about, like, before you were dating, what football teams do you think you would have known? And she named some, and I'm like, pretty much the usual suspects. You know what I'm saying? You're like, oh, Cowboys, the Steelers. She said the Jets because they mentioned them on Friends. I'm like, okay, yeah. So this is kind of one of these cases. I want to know. Can you get this one? You can go ahead and play the second sound whenever you're ready, sir. Play for the good people.
It's Pokemon.
Any ideas? It's actually, the sound effect goes longer than it should, for what it's worth. But, yeah.
Yeah, I see that. I'm going to say that's Pokemon, and that's when you capture a wild Pokemon of some sort.
I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to give you both points. It's fair. Because it's not fair for a non-Pokemon fan to have to, guess which specific game it's from.
Oh, if you wanted me to pick the game, yeah, I can do that.
No.
It sounds
I didn't
old.
expect
I would
that.
guess, like, I don't know if it's literally like, I don't know. Because I don't know the exact, I've said before, I've only played Emerald, and I don't know exactly when that was. It sounds around that, though. It sounds around that time.
It is. It's from the same console.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that is technically Fire Red and Leaf Green, although I'm not actually sure that in Emerald they changed it, because the catch effect sound has mostly been the same throughout the entirety of the franchise. Most things they do change generation to generation, but some sounds they don't. Like when you go into the Pokemon Center, that song doesn't ever change. But like the item shop does change its sound most of the time. So,
yeah, and that's why I did stress of some sort, because I don't know if, like, when you use a Master Ball, if that's like a different sound effect than a regular ball or whatever. I figured not,
but you're spot on.
But yeah, it sounded like you could
You're
just
all
call it
over
wild
it,
Pokemon.
dude.
That's what
Way
I
to
guess.
do it. Yeah, that is when you successfully catch a Pokemon. It goes dun 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 dun, and then another song plays as it gets you to the nickname screen. It goes do 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 do.
I know that.
Yeah, but like it wasn't in there. I was kind of hoping it was, but I'm like, that's a whole song at that point.
That would have helped. That would have. I would have like, oh yeah, that's that.
So specifically,
because I do know that. Yeah.
This is from Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green. What they are is they are remakes of the very first Pokemon games. So they came out on the Game Boy Advance. The Game Boy Advance could not connect to the Game Boy Color or Game Boy Regular, whatever you want to call it, either one, to trade with anymore. So all of the first two generations of Pokemon were stuck. You couldn't move them forward. And so that's something they have thought through since then. So actually, going back to the literal Game Boy Advance cartridges, you can move forward those Pokemons to the literal Nintendo Switch versions all the way through. But you need
the backwards compatibility.
You need some every step of the way to do it. You can't just be like, all right, I have a Game Boy and I have a Switch. Can I get this on here? No, you need some from like every single step. It's actually a very tedious process.
Sneaky, yeah.
Yeah, so that is the Game Boy Advance version of a sound from the original game. This is the one, I think you're going to be like, oh, what is this? What is this? What is this? I think you might, because that's what I would do. Go ahead and play sound 3 whenever you're ready. You're 4 for 4. 4 points for 4 points right now. I want to know if you can tell me what this is. And what game it's from. And I want rather specific on this.
I know this.
Yeah, you do.
I think that's when you grab... Is that when you grab one of the big coins in New Super Mario?
No, sir.
No, it's not.
Incorrect.
That's 64.
Okay. What is it?
That is 64.
I have a second sound effect.
Is that just when you grab a coin? I think it's just when you grab a coin from 64. I think that's your health like replenishing.
Listen to this second sound effect here. See if that gets you to the promised land.
It's the 8 coin sound. One of the 8 coin sounds.
Yeah, I'll give it to you. I've never heard them called the 8 coins though. That is a red coin being collected from Super Mario 64.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I was like, the second one will definitely
first?
get in there, right? What did you say?
What did I say at first? I said
You said Bitcoin. Did you mean the star coin?
Yeah, the star coin from like the New Super Mario Brothers. It sounds. I can't remember off the top of my head what it sounds like. It sounded like that at first to me.
Yeah, they do make like their own distinct sound, I think, in those games.
They do. I think it's more like a shing. Like I think it just like shings.
Yeah, I kind of thought of the games first and the sound effects later, with the exception of the Mario jumping over the barrel sound. That was the one that made me want to do all of these. But then I was like, what Pokemon sound can I do that he might be able to get? And I'm very proud of you for getting the Pokemon sound. You have played a little, I guess, so maybe that's familiar enough for you. But I think like the red coin from Super Mario 64, that's a pull. That's a great pull.
I don't think I would have gotten the red coin specifically. Like I said, I thought maybe that was like you get a coin and that was the sound of your health replenishing like it does every 8 coins. The second one made it like, okay, yes, with the key change, yes, these are one of the 8 red coins. So yeah.
So I will tell you right now though, straight up, these next two they're awful. They're so hard. One in particular, I'm like, I don't even know if this is a fair one to say. One, I'll tell you right now, I will 1,000% would not have got. wouldn't have got it myself. But I want to put your knowledge to the test and see if you can get it. You got 6 points. You're already beating me. I said you'd get 5. I think I said maybe 5 or 6. You got 6 points out of 10. We got 2 more sound effects here. Go ahead and play sound 4 whenever you're ready and see if you can tell me what this is and what game it's from.
I didn't even hear that.
There's not much there, dude. There's not much there. But like, since I know what it is, I'm like, I can picture that. Actually, I can picture that. Yeah.
Let me see. Hang on. That is the lava thing from Super Mario World.
Let's go! Let's go,
Yeah.
dude! Yes!
Yeah.
Yes, dude!
Couldn't tell you his name, but it's that.
I'm okay with you not getting the name. Blarg is his name. It's a hilarious name.
Blarg. That's right. Yes.
Yes, dude. I was like, I feel
Yeah.
like as much as he likes this game, he will get this. He will get what this sound is. It's freaking Blarg. Yes!
I used to know like all the names because I love the ending song of Super Mario World.
Yeah, and it tells
So
you
I would just watch the end credits where it tells you all the names of all the enemies and stuff.
It's so good too, dude.
It's so good. It's so good.
I'm so shocked you got that one. That's great, dude.
We are at 8, baby. We are at 8.
We're going for the perfect here.
Oh, there's no way I sweep it.
This
one's
one's
easier.
easier.
I'm just happy to
This
be
one's easier
here.
than Blarg. This one's easier than Blarg, in my opinion. It might take some thinking. You'll get it. Okay, you'll get it. But because the perfect game is on the line here, and I was generous with the Pokemon title for obvious reasons. There's 20-some. That's not fair. This one, title specific. Specific. Okay. Let's get to go 10 for 10.
Here we go.
Okay. So sound 5 whenever you're ready, sir. It's tough, dude. It's tough.
It definitely sounds like. God, he's going forever. I was gonna guess a Bullet Bill from a Mario Kart.
Okay.
And that's still like what I'm thinking it is.
Okay.
Is that it's a Bullet Bill from a Mario Kart? But I guess somebody was in dead last when they got this. This goes on forever.
Someone's in dead last.
I'm locked in that it's a Bullet Bill from a Mario Kart.
Okay. That is correct.
It sounds
That is
old,
correct.
and I don't know. I don't think that's Wii. I don't think that's Wii.
Okay.
But I'm trying to think of when all the Bullet Bills were in Mario Kart. And
Right.
I don't know. I don't know that.
Let me tell you this, dude. I want you to go 10 for 10. You're 9 for 10 already. You got the subject right. Look at the other games throughout the course of this list, and then make your prediction based off of that. Try to see if you can find a theme with the games mentioned here.
Right. They're
'Cause
all in
there's
that
a
kind
theme. There is
of
a theme.
generation. If that's what you're getting at. They're all in that kind of
You're
generation.
in the wrong ballpark thinking about it with that. I will tell you that.
Really? It's not in the generation?
Well, we're saying
theme?
vicinity, but we're talking arcade Donkey Kong in the 80s up through
Right. But
for a while.
what I was getting at was it felt like you were kind of like you went from Donkey Kong to whatever to whatever to whatever. Like it seemed like maybe we were kind of moving up. I guess not with World. That wouldn't make any sense.
We do kind of move up. Actually, that is a great point, an unintended part that would actually go perfect for this. If you want to go on that track, you would get there for what it's worth.
Yeah. This is one of those two. I'll be honest. I don't know all the Mario Kart titles. Like I could not tell you when like Double Dash came out. I could not tell you. I never played a second of Double Dash.
Okay.
So like, I couldn't tell you when it came out. I couldn't tell you if a Bullet Bill's an obvious.
Let me tell you this.
Thing in there.
Sound 1, Donkey Kong arcade game. That's my favorite arcade game. Sound
Right.
2, Pokemon Catch Sound, Pokemon Fire Red. That's my favorite Pokemon game. Sound 3, Super Mario 64. I guess that's also mine, but you like that game a lot as well. That's fair, right? We both really
I
like
love
Mario
64.
64. Sound 4, Super Mario World. That's your favorite Mario game.
Right.
Sound 5 is a Bullet Bill from Mario Kart. Can you get there now or no?
No.
What's your favorite Mario Kart?
So...
What's your favorite Mario Kart game?
My favorite's Wii.
Okay.
I said it doesn't sound like
Let's go
Wii.
with
Is that
that.
Wii?
Yes.
Really? It sounds old.
I tried to test you on some of
sounds-
our favorite games, mine and yours both. Was what I did.
That sounds like old for some reason.
But like they
That's
didn't do it on the
weird.
64. I've never played Double Dash. If they were in Double Dash, I wouldn't know. And that's the
I
one.
can't
right for there.
imagine that they are. I thought Wii might have been the first one with the Bullet Bill, but I didn't know that.
It's totally not.
I would have guessed.
It's totally not.
But
No,
I
Wii
say
is
it-
the first one. Yeah. Wii is the first one to have it. So if you're thinking old,
Wow.
well, technically DS. DS and Wii, same
Yes.
time period.
I was thinking of DS. I was.
Yeah.
I thought the Wii's was a little higher pitched. And I know that's being nitpicky. I thought it was a little higher pitched. So I was like, like, I don't know.
I also have the sound of it turning on and turning off here. But honestly, like if you would have had on, I could, if I had like 2 minutes, I could put the on sound effect with this and then play the sound and then it turning off, and it would have been like killer, easy peasy. Which you got it anyways, so who cares? So you hear, and then here off, yeah, you totally got that, dude.
Especially the
10 for 10. I'm giving it to you. You totally did it.
I'll take the 9. I'll take the 9 for 10. But I'll still take it.
What Mario Kart game would you have guessed if not Wii?
I probably would have said DS.
Would you really?
I might have, because it sounded old. It sounded like not as, which I know Mario Kart Wii came out in what, like 08?
Yeah.
I know, I know it's still old.
Before that, dude, Mario Kart Wii was like 06, I think, right?
I don't know.
I'll have to Google.
Either of those sound correct. I'm not.
It is
I wouldn't bet the house on either one of those.
Crap, that feels old. DS was like 06.
I think so.
DS was 05.
Maybe even 05. Yeah.
There's 3 years difference on those
so
two?
like I
There's
really
3 years difference?
I probably before you started helping me, which I appreciate, I probably would have said I don't think it's quite Wii. I would have said the yes.
Okay.
So I'll take the 9 out of 10.
I hate that I couldn't. I hate that my theme wasn't clear. Then once I mentioned that there was a theme, I'm like, these are all of our favorite games. Yeah, I was like, my favorite, your favorite Mario Kart.
I did think that for a second. I was like, he's doing like favorite games, and I was like, well, obviously he likes Pokemon, and I know Donkey Kong, whatever. I was like, he wouldn't have thrown World in there. So I was like, why would he do that? Like,
and we both like 64. Yeah. I was thinking about
love it.
I honestly was thinking about you for 64, and I don't know why, because it's more so one of my favorite games. It's one of the ones that I die for. We do both really like it, so maybe that was a bit of a confounding variable there. I don't know.
I like it. I'm happy to be here either way, buddy. 9 out of 10. I'll take an A. That's an A on some grading scales.
And I would have not like if you threw a Blarg caliber sound effect from one of my favorite games out there. I'm probably not getting it, dude. Like it's tough. That's tough.
I don't know. I have to do that sometimes. I'll have to look up like some the most obscure specific Pokemon games, and then like maybe an obscure sound effect from that, and see if I can ever catch you off guard. What you might be surprised by is
the ones I haven't played. Like I didn't play a lot of them until I was like a teenager. So like I just bought Emerald. I own Emerald for the first time ever. I've played through Ruby, which is basically the same as Emerald in a lot of ways. And then I played the Ruby and Sapphire remakes. So like I know the game, but Emerald is different in a lot of really good ways, and I'm enjoying that. But then there's like I was telling Kat last night, super unsatisfying, boring knowledge that I'll be quick with here. I can have every Game Boy Advance Pokemon game. There's Fire Red and Leaf Green, which are a duo, Ruby and Sapphire, which are a duo, and then they remade those into Emerald. That's all of them for the Game Boy Advance, okay? All 5. I cannot complete the Pokédex with those 5 games. Can't do it. Cannot be done. Because 2 of, honestly, the most popular Pokemon in the game can't be captured. And I'm not even talking about like the rare, like Mew, you can't get Mew. Yeah, yes, that's true, but they don't count towards Pokédex completion for that exact reason. Espeon and Umbreon. You know Eevee? Do you know of Eevee? It's one of the multiple things that Eevee can evolve into. Espeon and Umbreon have their evolutions tied to it being daytime or nighttime. Emerald and Ruby and Sapphire have a clock in the game. Like I had to solder the battery into Emerald. I had to solder the battery out and then solder a new one in, because the batteries have all started to die on all the old games, right? I had to do that myself when I got it. And it has a clock, a working clock, okay? There's no set day or night time, and so you literally cannot evolve these 2 in any of those games. Any of them. They're in the Pokédex. They count towards completion. You cannot get them. You have to have Pokemon Coliseum for the Nintendo GameCube, or Pokemon Gale of Darkness for the GameCube, and then transfer them to your Game Boy games. And in those games, they're basically handed to you. They're like your starters in one of them. For that exact reason of like, oh, we kind of overlooked them. Sorry, guys.
Sorry. Yeah.
They're in the game. They're programmed in. No way to get them. Insane.
That's annoying. That's
very
annoying.
frustrating. So, yeah, and it's not like there's some slouch Pokemon. It's not like it's Chimecho. You don't know who Chimecho is. I know you don't. You know what I'm saying?
Never heard of that.
It's not freaking. Who's a random one I could throw out there? It's not Dawn Fan. Dawn Fan's pretty well known.
Either.
You don't know them though. No, these are like you've seen merchandise of these 2 Pokemon whether you know it or not. Let's put it that way.
Right.
So
Right.
Okay. Well, with that said, a lot of video game talk for a non-video game, non-sports podcast. You are having a video game sports episode.
We are. I'm excited.
You want to take it from there, sir?
Sure. Actually, give me 1 second. I'm actually typing out. I didn't type out my list. I had it on my phone.
I didn't either, but I'm kind of winging it other than my answers. So my answers are listed in order. My answers aren't very fun, to be honest with you. You're gonna be like, "Oh, brother," you know what I mean? But like,
What the?
I'm so glad you remember what the. One of my favorite SpongeBob sounds. What the? It's so freaking good.
I saw several TikToks this week because of the because of the hurricane. I saw several TikToks of people out there with like an umbrella with the Krusty Krab. It's fantastic.
My favorite episode.
It's fantastic.
Anyways.
What we're talking about here this week is we don't have to necessarily rank them. You said yours are in order. Mine are in order as well.
Yeah, mine too. They're ranked.
But we're going to talk about our favorite sports, and we are going to break them down in between sports to watch and sports to play, because to me, that makes a big difference.
Oh, we are doing that. We're doing 3 of each?
That's what I had.
I misunderstood. I thought when we discussed, I was like, it's kind of fun. Okay, well, I misunderstood
because you can consider watching versus playing. Is what you're saying.
I was like, it's up to you. Make your 3, but then it's up to you how you weight it. It was kind of what I had in mind. I could absolutely do top 3. I could absolutely split it, no problem, if you want.
Okay. That's all I have in mind, because I do think it changes things.
Dude. Yeah, that's why before we started recording, I was like, I'm curious to see your justification. I was like, because I don't know how you're gonna weigh this or not.
I was wondering when you said that. I was like, you were like, I'm curious to see your clarification. I was like, my clarification is some of these are fun to watch and some of these are fun to play.
I absolutely just misunderstood then, I thought.
That's my fault. I didn't convey it. It correctly.
Okay,
so that's...
well, I better...
Here we are.
I better get my act together then real quick.
Well, go ahead and do your typing.
To play.
Because there is a difference. There's a difference in watching some and playing some. And honestly, for me, there's also a difference between watching at home versus watching live. I think that plays a role. Could play a role too.
Absolutely, it does. It does.
For instance, I've said before, you won't ever catch me voluntarily, like I'm in control, remote control, and I'm watching a baseball game on TV. Would I go to a baseball game with people? Absolutely. That's a big difference, watching on TV versus watching live. I think there's several sports like that maybe one way or another.
Okay.
But do you already have your...
Yeah, we're good. I just went with
list?
gut. Gut is usually right with me. Gut is pretty much... Gut will get me there most of the time. So we'll go with gut. Okay. And there's not much of a change. Only one thing changed. So
I'll let you lead with whatever you want to do. However you want to do it first, I'll just follow.
Let's go through our list of ones that we like to play first. Since everybody, you might not like to watch sports, but you've played a sport. And you surely have one thing you're like, this is fun, even if it's frisbee golf or mini golf, right? Like, this is fun. Although mini golf is not a sport. Surely to God, mini golf didn't make either of our lists, right? So
I mean, if we're considering like chess technically a sport,
it's not. I don't care what people say. Although I do have something that I want to mention for our favorite to watch that I want to get your opinion on. It didn't make my list, but it was close. You want to go 3, 2, 1, and then like we'll each give our 3, or each give our 2, each give our 1, or just give our whole list. What do you want to do?
I'm down for a 3, 2, 1. I like that. Yeah.
My number 3 favorite sport to play is basketball. It is easily, for what it's worth, though, my worst sport. I'm terrible at basketball. I'm very bad at it. I like to tell people, like, I'm a really good passer. That's another way to tell people I'm not good at basketball. You know what I mean? Right. I'm a great passer. And I am actually, I can make some nice passes every now and then. I have good, court vision and stuff. I have terrible handling. I'm a terrible dribbler. I really am. I can really only dribble well with my left hand, which is actually pretty common for non-professional players. Most people are only really good at dribbling with their one hand. Like in a game. Could you charge the rim with your left hand? You probably couldn't, could you? No, right? It's hard. And then do a layup with your other hand? It's very hard. It's very unorthodox.
True. Yeah.
So, with that said, though, I moved a couple months ago. There is a park with honestly, really nice half basketball court near me. And I play 2 or 3 times a week, at least. And I've gotten a lot better. We're getting back to how we used to be. I used to be a really good shot. And then stopped being able to play very often, and then come high school, like you play in gym, and I'm like, I suck, dude. I'm awful. Yeah. I'm the worst at this. Yeah. And so that was a little deflating, and I play rec ball in college and stuff, and it's like, I'm terrible, man. Like, God. So that's the colleges where I did hit a Steph Curry walk-away three-pointer to win a game one time, though. I was feeling
that's
it.
Nice.
Shot it and turned away and ran the other direction to win the game before the shot went down. That was cool. That was fun.
You turn around and it just bricked.
Dude, that would have been so me, right? Or airballed. Totally airballed it. Like, Oh, I was getting back
Not
on
even
defense,
the backboard.
guys.
Like it's over the backboard. It didn't even come close. Like
yeah, but that's my number 3 for sure. And I'm getting getting better. We're getting better. So
Okay. Yeah.
good way to stay active, and it's a lot of fun to play. You can play for a long time too. So that's my number 3.
Yeah. That's fine. My number 3 is, first off, I do have like an honorable mention of like a random sport that I think nobody ever cares about, and that's the reason that it's an honorable mention for me and not higher. I love this sport. I would call it a sport. It's in the Olympics, but nobody else ever likes to do it. Badminton is freaking awesome.
Unreal. It's unreal how fun it is.
I love badminton.
Fun.
Oh my god, I just think it's so much fun.
We've
I don't know
got
why
to
people
find a
don't
way
play it.
One of these days when we meet up to do anything, God knows what that'll be. If I'm on your territory, especially down in Texas, and you can show me where to go, we'll play badminton. Put some pen to paper.
Yeah.
So
it's fun. It's fun.
Great.
So that's my honorable mention. That would be. It's just so hard to find even one person, let alone, because I know like a lot of times it's like 2-on-2 or whatever. It's so hard to find people to do it. So my real 3 is tennis. Tennis for me, I played it forever. I think we started in freaking middle school.
Play in high school?
Playing tennis. No, because I think it was during track season. If I remember,
it was.
I think it was a spring sport.
Yeah.
So no, I didn't play tennis. Although, like looking back, I kind of wish I had rather than track. Hindsight 2020.
Over track.
Probably. I ran track to be social. I ran
really?
track to say I was on a team. Yeah. Especially by my senior year. The only reason I ran senior year was to say I did it all 4 years. I hated it by then. I was like, well, I'll do it to say I did.
Okay.
So yeah, tennis. I love tennis. I also like watching tennis, but I think playing tennis is a lot of fun. It can be hard to play because you need an empty court. Obviously, the weather conditions have to be a certain way. There's no indoor courts or whatever. So like it can be hard to play, but I think it's fun.
I think it's harder to play than it should be for like the average person. Just to get a serve into play is insanely hard, and I would consider myself very athletic, at least like on a nationwide scale. You know what I'm saying?
98%.
That's running. That's different than athleticism. You can be fast and not be athletic at all. You know what I'm saying? You absolutely
very
can.
true.
I think I am pretty athletic, though. I can pick up most sports and be decent at it. Tennis, I was very bad at serving in tennis. Very bad. I could not consistently get a serve over the net and in the field of play properly. Mm-hmm. And just get points going that way. It was so hard to just get a rally going for me. And so I think for some reason, I find it also way too easy to just launch the ball into the air with a tennis racket. It is so easy. If you're not like spot on, right? That ball's going, that's sailing, dude. You know what I'm saying?
It takes a lot of control. And I think it's not quite like golf where like a millimeter makes all the difference, but it can be like an inch makes all the difference in tennis. Yeah,
absolutely. And who has the time to practice it if you're not a regular tennis player? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And you're picking up with two beginners playing. It's like, I don't have time for this. I'm not playing this. So, but I don't know. It definitely like has a lot of merit in my opinion. So, yeah. It's a great segue into my number 2 favorite sport to play. My number 2 favorite sport to play is pickleball. It is number 2.
Hey,
and it is the most widest, modernist, gentrificationist, whatever you want to say ist of me to say this, because it is sweeping the nation. There's clubs popping up everywhere that are expensive, and we're taking over tennis courts, and we're getting noise complaints from people and things like that. Like pickleball, if you don't love it, you probably have grown to hate it already. You know what I'm saying?
I think it's pretty polarizing, yeah.
It is very polarizing. That's the word I was looking for and couldn't come across for some reason. It is very polarizing. It's great. And it's so, like, the scale between the best pickleball player you know, not a professional per se. It's very different on the professional level. But the best pickleball player you know and someone who just started playing but is of just average athletic ability, very average, the scale is not that big. You'll probably get some points on them. You know what I'm saying? You can be competitive.
Right.
And that's a lot of the appeal to it. And so to me, I'm like, playing with a work group and stuff like that. It's like, okay, well, I can absolutely play with these guys and then also continue to get better and be very competitive here. And that said, they're still going to get some points on me and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Mm. So trying to nicely point out that like I pretty much wax my work group when I'm there, but
okay, wow, and they're watching.
I doubt it. I wax those guys. I really do for the most part. Me and one other guy like crush everyone else there. So to the point that like depending on who I'm playing, I do pull it back just to not be a douche. And, you're there on your after work hours.
What a humble
trying to have
guy.
fun and stuff. No, not what I'm trying to say. But it's fun. And I have talked about doing like a legitimate league for it, and I really should. I really should do it. It is
It'd be fun.
It's great cardio.
Yeah.
It is a blast. You would be good at it too. You have a nice long reach, I guarantee, and that is massive.
I never tried it, but yeah, it looks like. I mean, it's like obviously this is oversimplifying it, but it looks like a mix between like ping pong and tennis.
That is
somehow.
a very common
and
description of it that the sport would say okay to. So no, it's not dumbing it down too much.
I love both of those things. So yeah,
You should definitely try
I
it.
do want to try it. Yeah.
Yeah, you and Rose should just go to a court, learn the rules, playing like 1-on-1, and then like most places have a thing like you put your paddles in and you play doubles. That's it. You just you go up whenever it's your turn. So
Right.
it's pretty unique. It's got its own rules, but they're not that complicated. They're really not. So all right.
Okay. Yeah.
What's your number 2, sir?
My number 2, so honestly, my number 2 versus number 1 to play, I kind of struggle with because for certain reasons, these can be, like we talked about with tennis, they can be hard to play because both of these can require 2 people. If you're playing them full on, they require in the team
I was
people.
gonna say, is it 10? Yeah.
Yeah, so like football, for example. I'm going to say football's my number 2.
Okay.
Can you, in the backyard, with 2 people just standing and throw football back and forth? Sure.
Yeah,
Is
it's
that
not playing-
anything
it's
as
not playing
fun
it.
as... Yeah, is that anything as fun as actually going out and playing it? No. But still, I honestly love that. Like, if we got friends over or whatever, one of my favorite things to do is if we're all just, like, chatting anyway, let's stand in the backyard and just toss football while we're talking.
Absolutely.
I love it. Like,
Absolutely.
it's just fun. I don't know. I also do it with Frisbee, but football's more fun.
Mm-hmm.
So that's fun. But then, like I said, if you can work it out to where you have even, like, 5-on-5, that's great.
Yeah.
I just think football is so much fun to play, dude. It's so fun. You do run into a risk, especially where you're playing and who you're playing with. Like I've
That's
complained
very
with
true.
about.
There are people that are like, if I walked up planning on playing and then I see some of these guys, I'm like, I'm not letting you tackle me. No way.
Yeah.
So
yeah, there's some people that like I've said before about pickup basketball. There seems to always be that one guy on the court throwing elbows and never calling
that's
fouls,
garbage,
whatever. That
dude.
Yeah, and I feel like that could easily happen in a pickup game of football, whatever. But if you can play football with some friends, whether you're tackling, whether you're touching, I don't care. It's just fun, dude. I just think it's a great way. You can do it almost in any weather. It's almost more fun when it's soaking
Gotta be
wet
a
and
little
muddy or
cold
like
at
snow
least,
everywhere.
you know what I'm saying?
So,
Yeah, absolutely it is. So, well, that's a great segue into my number 1, which is football. It's my number 1 favorite sport to play.
I figured.
For
Yeah,
all,
yeah.
like, it's, I don't know, if you know me, you know that, like, football is massively important to my literal life. I love football. It is huge to me. I am very passionate about it. And even though I was not built to be a football player, I still love it and I still love playing it. And so I am dying. I told Treads, I said, I would love to see if we can get a game going for Thanksgiving. I would love to. If there's enough people there. I think you need 8. 6 is not really enough. 6 is not enough.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Once you get to 8, I think that's playable for sure.
Because you have 6, and it's like, okay, there's always the quarterback, and then most of the time, like, when I would play, and I think even when we played, right, the few times that I played with you guys, it was like the quarterback can run, like, once per possession at most on your own, unless you get rushed. You can rush the quarterback once as well. It's like one rush or one run on your own accord, whatever you feel like doing. But, like, with that said, then, if it's 3-on-3, the quarterback is basically, like, just throwing, right? And so as a result, it's 2 wide receivers on 3 defenders half of the time. And I'm like, that's kind of tough. 4-on-4 though, you have a lot more flexibility with things. So I think you need 8. That's my number.
It's fun that you can play with an odd number and just have like a dedicated quarterback.
You do
which is
dedicated
fun,
QB.
too.
Yes, sir. Yeah. And that's kind of tough for the QB too, because it's like, I guess I win and I lose no matter what, right?
Yeah,
It's kind of funny.
Yeah,
Like,
you're
what if
just
for
out
one
there.
team I throw 3 picks, and then for the other team, like the team that's getting all the picks, sudden change, I'm back out, I'm quarterback for that team still too, and I'm dropping dimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Kind of funny.
very true. Very
But,
true.
yeah, that's typically like the dad role at the party too. Is this dedicated
Yes.
quarterback? The dad is
Yeah,
dedicated
yeah.
quarterback. So I
Right.
can't wait.
That's fun.
I'm telling you right now, and like one of my very few gripes with my in-laws, and like if one of them hears this, gonna be like, "What do you mean gripes? What do you mean?" I mean this like wholeheartedly, but like it's such a soft topic that it's like whatever. How are you, none of y'all into sports? What do you mean no one likes sports? What do you all watch? What do you all talk about? And even the ones who like are into it aren't like really into it to the point of like, let's go play football on Thanksgiving. I'm dying to do this. So I'm telling you right now, and my in-laws better be prepared. When we all start having kids, well, I've got one nephew right now, but like I now have 2 brothers-in-law. They'll eventually have a couple kids each. We'll have a couple of kids. We're doing Thanksgiving football. If it's just me and all the kids out there, I'll be darned. Once they're all 5 or 6, we're doing it. We're doing a game every freaking year somewhere. I'll drive to the soccer complex in Beckley if I have to. We're doing Thanksgiving football every year. It is a thing that we're doing. So I'm dying to get into that. I wish we have enough adult people who aren't in terrible shape now to where we could do it, but alas, I would be absolutely in a minority in trying to pitch that idea right now. So yes,
it'll come. It'll come. Like you said,
one of these days.
It'll be Uncle Derek with the kids and nothing else. So
if it has to be. So it is what it is. That's my number 1 favorite to play. What's your number 1? I guess I know the answer then. Go for it, bro.
It is volleyball, baby. I am obsessed. I'm obsessed with it. And that's what I was saying with the number of people. Like, yeah, you can be in the backyard and like bump and set to each other or whatever. No, and that's not really playing. It's just you're doing the thing or whatever. But sincerely with volleyball, you need really like 4. Once you have 4, it's like, okay, we can play legit volleyball here. That is most sand leagues is 2-on-2. You don't have to have, like we just now said with football, like I feel like you have to have like at least 6. You really only need like 4 to play volleyball. I'm not saying that's like the reason it's better, but I'm just pointing out different pros and cons. Whenever I am playing volleyball, I will admit that I think a big reason that this is number 1 for me is that I think I'm probably best at it compared to any other sport we've listed. I suck at basketball. Okay. I'm okay at football. I can't throw very well, but I think I can catch and run or whatever. Yeah. But volleyball, it's just so much fun. You get to, there's different variations of it. You can play outside. You can play on sand. You can play indoors. So weather's not always a factor. It's just whenever I am playing this sport, which sport am I having the most fun? It's volleyball. I'm in a work league now. I promise you at this point, year round, I'm going to be playing volleyball in some league at some place. It's just, I love it so much.
If you find enough people in a work league to play, dude, that blows my mind.
It is. I'm excited. I am upset because the last 2 regular season weeks are this coming Tuesday, the day after this drops, the next week. And then after that, it's the postseason, and we'll be in Beckley we'll be in Beckley from Tuesday to Tuesday, which is when I play. So I'm going to miss the entire postseason.
Dang, dude. Would you have made it? Does everyone make it? Does everybody make it to the postseason?
No, only the top 4 from each division, and right now we are in 4th in our division.
Oh my God. So 5th place is going to get the nod, huh? Or your team will just go without you. Which is it? What happens?
No, they'll go without. Like there'll be subs and stuff. And I think the rules is like you can have 2 subs per game. You can't have we only got 2 people here. Well, here's a team of subs playing. You can't do that.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay.
So long story short, it's fantastic. I love it. It's new to me, but I'm in love.
Yeah. Tuesday to Tuesday, you'll be in Beckley. That is kind of funny because we'll be out with the Beckley fam. So, but not in Beckley. So funny how it works.
Wow.
We seem to avoid each other there a lot. So.
Yeah, it seems like
terrible timing. All right, we got plenty of time left. We're doing pretty good on time. What are your top 3 favorite sports to watch? And I guess, I wonder if I should have maybe changed my answers for that. I just had my top 3 and watching factored in and playing factored in. But okay. I don't know. I'll go with my top 3 favorites in general, which happen to also be my 3 favorite to watch.
Okay.
But then
that works.
The order should change a little bit then. I'll flip the order for one of these then. And we'll go from there. You want to go first on this as well?
Sure. Yeah, I'm gonna say basketball. Basketball is probably my number 3 favorite to watch. I do think basketball is fun to watch no matter where you're doing it. It is fun. If you're just walking through the park and you see people playing pickup basketball, it's fun to just sit there and watch for a minute. Mm-hmm. College is fun. Obviously, NBA level is fun. Especially playoff level NBA. It's so much fun. March Madness, come on. March Madness is awesome to watch. So great. I do think it's a sport for me that I enjoy watching in person a decent amount more than I do watching at home. I will watch at home, but I do like going and the arena's doing the chants and you're watching the fouls in person and the whole arena's reacting to whatever just happened. It's fun. It's a fun environment. Yeah.
How many WVU basketball games have you been to?
A few. I don't remember. We definitely went to more football games, but I'd say probably 10.
Okay.
I'd say probably 10.
Were you there during like the Press Virginia era to go to games and stuff, or like when they were like really, really good on a national scale, or no?
I don't know. I think I was there when Press Virginia was technically a thing because we had Carter and
Sagaba Kanate.
Sagaba Kanate. My wife tutored Sagaba Kanate, dude. She was his personal tutor.
Cool. No way. Nice.
And then now he's not doing anything, which is great.
It happens.
Where is he? Is he playing overseas? Where is he?
I assume if there was a decent college player who is removed from college by 4 or 5 seasons, they're probably playing in Turkey or in Europe or something. That's usually what happens. Yeah.
That makes sense. So yeah, I'd say around about 10 throughout my whole tenure there. Probably about. I went to that one game. I think it was when we beat Baylor when they were number 1 and we stormed the court. I was there for that.
Yep, I remember that.
Yeah, that was fun. So yeah, that's awesome. That was fun.
Yeah, nice. Basketball. I'll save basketball for later. It's on my list just later on. My number 3 though is baseball. And I guess I'll spoil it. It doesn't really matter. There's only a few of you watching, listening, whatever. It's not like it's a grand thing, whatever. I had to flip these. My 1, 2, 3 favorite sports overall were going to be football, baseball, basketball. I had baseball over basketball. That said, though, I had basketball third on my list of favorite to play. Basketball is now second on my favorite to watch. But I would have had baseball over it in a grand scheme type of argument, for what it's worth.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
So, and that's why this is a big part of why I wanted to hear your argument for hockey number 1, which I knew it was going to be. At least it's going to be your number 1 most favorite to watch. Because I thought you were going to be willing to say, it's my favorite sport. Point blank, period. Watch, play, team allegiances, take into consideration, was going to be your number 1. I was going to bust your balls a little bit for it. I really was. And I'll tell you
because
why.
I've never played it, or why? Like,
I'll save it for when you're going. I'll save it for when you're going. How about that? Is that cool?
Okay. Yeah.
My number 3 favorite to watch is baseball. It's my number 2 favorite overall sport. It cannot, dude, be put over basketball in terms of just watching it. Even though I love watching it, I love going to games. It's a big part of why I live where I live, in all seriousness. It is a huge reason that I'm here, okay? It's because I fell in love with the city in part going to Cincinnati Reds games. For real. That said, though, you catch a stinky baseball game, and it's like, dude, this is such a drag. Come on, 1-0 in the 8th inning. We've got 2 hits in separate innings. This is awful, dude. This is terrible. Basketball is never like that. Sure, you can get blown out and be down 30 at halftime and stuff like that. But for what it's worth, though, last season especially, it seems like no lead is safe in basketball anymore. Ever. Nice. The amount of 25 plus, 30 point plus comebacks that happened in the NBA alone last season are insane. Okay?
Right.
And the Lakers were on the right and wrong side of a lot of those. I knew every time we'd be up 25, game is not over, game is not over, game is not over. We'd be down 22-23 at halftime. It's like, third and fourth quarter is what matters most. Like, we can figure it out and still win these games. And they did a couple of times last season, en route to making the playoffs, but it was weird. And basketball was weird like that. So that's why it's a little better to watch than baseball, in my opinion. But I love it. The atmosphere of going in person carries baseball to the nth degree. The big thing for me, and this is why I would have had baseball over basketball on a list, is that even though I am a diehard Lakers fan, I'll always be a diehard Lakers fan. Being in Cincinnati, living here now, going to games, which I've only been to 1 Lakers game ever, and was on the road in Charlotte, has brought a new love for the sport to me that is deeply tied into just the team itself of the Cincinnati Reds. So that is why I had to give love to baseball and say it was my number 2 overall favorite sport, number 3 favorite to watch.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I think one thing you talked about, like, the second half is what matters most. I think one thing you hear semi-frequently in basketball that me and my brother made fun of for years is, like, somebody and fans will do it the most. Like, they'll lose, and they'll be like, well, we were the best fourth quarter team. Okay, did you win the game? No? Okay, sorry. I'm sorry it took you 3 full quarters to figure it out. I don't care that you won the fourth quarter. I don't care if in the fourth quarter you outscored them by 20 points. If you lost still by 10, you lost the game. I'm not saying that means you didn't have any competition, whatever. I don't think you ever hear that. I don't think in hockey you never hear, well, we won the first period. Okay, did you win the game? That's not what matters. That's really funny to me. Remember, my brother make fun of that all the time. All that to say, my second favorite to watch is football. It was number 1. You called my number 1.
Yeah.
I'll get to that in a minute.
Sorry to do that for you, but
no, all good. Football is now my number 2 to watch. First off, I tweeted it when this happened. Last week, Dolphins versus Patriots came down to the final drive. Y'all went into overtime with the Ravens.
Yep.
The Colts and Jaguars came down to the final seconds. The Bills and the Texans literally on a walk-off field goal.
Walk-off kick. That's 4.
There was at least 4
7
games, if not more. If not, there might have been 5+, but there was at least those 4 games all at the exact same time coming down to the same drive. Yep. I had all 4 up on the TV watching. Don't ever tell me college is better than NFL again.
It's not.
Don't ever. Don't.
The atmospheres are better. The atmosphere is better.
Give you that. I love the band and the rowdy fans. And
the sport is not better. It's not.
No, it's not. So anybody who stop. There are great matchups. Like we're getting a few great matchups. I think we're getting a few as we record this today. And like next week, I think we have a couple great matchups coming. Ohio State, Oregon, I think is a big one today, right?
As we record today, yes. Matt, this is being circled as the best day of the year for college football. Absolutely. And then guess what, buddy?
Yeah.
I'm here to spoil Ohio State, Oregon for you right now. Ohio State's going to beat them by 3 touchdowns. I'm not exaggerating. They're going to smash them.
I figure. I would agree with that.
And if you want to use the fact that Alabama beat the brakes off of Georgia for 2.5 quarters, and then it got close at the end, but then lost to Vanderbilt the next week, it's like, see? Okay, Vanderbilt has beaten Alabama, once in 40 years? Is that going to put them in the playoff contention? No. There are 12 teams that make the playoff now in college football, but they call it the playoff. College football is starting to piss me off with these little nuances. The NFL playoffs, the college football playoff.
It's the 2-minute warning.
2-minute timeout.
Yeah.
Shut up. Huh? They're trying to be different for specific. They're doing that on purpose. That is very intentional.
Oh, yeah.
So that's pissing me off. There's only 2 less teams in the field of 100-something than the 14 that make it in the NFL. 32 teams, almost half make it in the NFL. 100-something teams competing. We got a 12-team playoff. Really? That's the best we can do? You have less games
whenever they called it the playoff, whenever it was 4 teams, I was like, don't call this playoffs. Don't. This is stupid.
It's a semifinal.
It's so stupid.
And then a championship.
Yeah.
So I completely understand that frustration with that. And what I was going to say is, the team with 4 wins beats the best team in the league, in week, I guess it would have been week 6 last week for college, to advance to 3-3 on the season. You probably saved your season. You might go to the playoffs now. 3-3 Vanderbilt, their season is still toast. And they're not going to compete for a conference championship. They're not going to compete. They're going to get a random bowl game at best if they're lucky. Okay? So it's nowhere near better. And the parity is a big part of why. It's been, how many teams have won a national title since the year 2000? We don't have to actually look it up and count right now. It's got to be 9, maybe? Maybe 9? There are 32 teams in the NFL only 32. And the Patriots have won 7 since the year 2000. And I bet you they're neck and neck with how many teams have won titles. It shouldn't be that way. College football should have different teams rotating in and out all the time. And they don't.
Right.
So,
I think, no, you're good. I think the biggest thing that, honestly, one of the biggest reasons for me that football has fallen to 2 is the realization of what we talked about in that one episode of the actual playtime you watch.
Action.
You sit down and watch an NFL game, dude, there might be, you tweeted about it not too long ago, it's commercial, kickoff, commercial.
Someone scored, so they go to commercial, and they come back and kick it off, and then back to commercial. That should never happen ever. College is the worst for that, for what it's worth. But
I'm not saying that for that alone, soccer is better. But, dude, it is nice. It's nice to sit there and say, I'm going to watch this sport for 45 minutes. There might be random, 2 or 3 minute stoppages, very sporadically.
Maybe.
But, I'm not going to sit here and watch a 5-minute commercial for the next 45 minutes. I'm not. That's nice. I enjoy that. I enjoy going into that. But I have long said that I will almost watch any NFL game too. Talking about NFL versus college, I'm sorry, I'm not going to watch Ohio State versus Marshall. I didn't put that on for a play.
No.
I will probably watch almost any NFL game, because even if it is the 0-14 Panthers, whoever it is that year, versus the Kansas City Chiefs, it might be a decent game. You never know. I will always watch an NFL game.
Well, and even then, when the good team is involved like that, it matters. It matters to see how the undefeated juggernaut NFL team plays against the poo-poo crap NFL teams more than it does in college. Okay, because there are teams who will barely be bowl eligible, who will barely win 6 games, maybe win 7 games, who are blowing out teams by 50 points weeks 1, 2, and 3, with the equivalent of a winless team versus a 10-0 team in the NFL. The NFL team, like, you're probably lucky to win by 10, 17, something like that most of the time. That's a great win. 17-point win, dude, you crushed them. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's 80% of NFL games that come down to a one-score game at some point within the last 2 minutes. 80%.
Wow.
So, college can't compare. It cannot. Sorry.
No, it cannot.
So,
all that to say, I ranted on that for a while, but I'm so sorry I stole the thunder for a little bit. I'm curious to see what your 2 is.
My number 2 is also, it's basketball. And we don't have to elaborate super far on it, not to be boring or whatever. I'm not sure-winded on it by any means, but if you're just comparing watching it to watching baseball, it is so significantly better. I actually think, though, the NBA runs into a bit of a problem right now with the regular season. People talk about baseball should shorten the season, and I don't disagree necessarily. I do think 162 is a big ask. The owners will never go for it because they make so much money off ticket sales. Ticket sales are huge for baseball teams. But the NBA is running into an issue with resting and, we're down 15 in the first quarter. Who cares? Yeah, it's one out of 82. I don't care.
I do hate that. I hate the, it's a regular season game. Like, okay.
Yeah. And so I used to always admire, back when it would get under 2 minutes, you'd be down 6. They hit a 2-point, whatever shot, jump shot to go down up 8. Now you're down 8. And so, now you're taking timeouts and you're strategizing. It's like you're probably almost certainly going to lose. But no, they would go all in for every single regular season game just when we were growing up, right? It's hardly like that anymore. So for that reason, I do think I would like to see them shorten the NBA regular season a little bit. It'll never happen again for the same reason of ticket revenue. And then also, there is a thing in the NBA where every team plays every team in the other conference twice. And then in your own division a couple of times at home and away, or own conference, I should say, as well. So scheduling-wise, it would become a nightmare, and you have to change some semantics there. I don't know. College basketball, though, is a blast to watch. And there's always so many good teams that are worth watching from schools you've never heard of outside of college basketball. I would not know about Gonzaga University. I would not know about Butler University. I would not know about Virginia Commonwealth University. I would not know about George Mason University. And all of these schools have been championship level at one point in our lifetime.
True.
Whether it be they actually did it or they got to a Final Four or a championship game in Butler's case. That's crazy. That is awesome. Right. That is fun. That is the essence of college sports. And a big part of why watching college basketball and basketball in general is my number 2 favorite sport to watch.
I have no disagreements with that. I mean, it was my 3, so I have no disagreements with that. Yeah. I think everything you said is fantastic. I do agree too with what you said about potentially shortening the season. I know it takes a lot and all this stuff, and I guess the fact of the matter is, unfortunately, no league is probably ever going to be interested in shortening the season because they're like,
the NFL just keeps expanding, and they're almost certainly going to 18 games too, which I actually very much despise. Because
you have to give 2 bye weeks. You have to change stuff
I think they will. And we're pushing to where the Super Bowl might not end until the end of February, which is crazy. But I talked to Treads about this. It's a big sticking point for me because he's my favorite player of all time. Peyton Manning is the all-time passing yards leader in the NFL. Still to this day.
Okay.
He did so with 16 games. 5,200 something yards. Disgusting. He was filthy that season, okay? And what's going to happen, and Patrick Mahomes actually came pretty close one year in a 17-game season, he could have, I think. With that said, someone is going to beat that record eventually in a 17 or 18-game season. And the most ever! No one did more than him. With 2 more games?
Yeah.
And so I'm just putting this out there now. With much respect to my GOAT, Peyton Manning, I will not acknowledge you as the NFL single-season passing yards leader unless you outdo Peyton Manning in yards per game. Just putting that out there. Yards per game. You have to outdo him in yards per game, or I'm not acknowledging you as that. Sorry.
So that's a fairer estimate because, if you have 2 more games to do it.
Yeah. Peyton Manning probably would have thrown for close. This is not an exaggeration. He literally would have thrown for almost 6,000 yards if they had 18 games that season, and he played in all 18. He would have almost thrown for 6,000 yards. 5,000 yard seasons are rare enough.
It's the reverse for me, where eventually somebody has a perfect season in this longer season. I'm gonna have to give them as the perfect team.
You will,
because the
you
Dolphins doing it with less
14-0.
games. It's like, well, they did it with
and
more
less playoff games too, and less playoff games.
Yeah.
So I think it was just the divisional championship and Super Bowl at that point. So yeah.
So it's kind of the reverse for me. But yeah, I agree with what you said. I agree with it.
You want to get to your number one, sir?
Sure. My number one, which is new, baby, but it got solidified after I was blessed enough to go watch my first hockey game last week. It is hockey. I tweeted about this, and maybe you already saw this. That moment in football, the score doesn't matter. You could be down. You could be just taking a chance on a deep shot, whatever. But it's that moment in football where your quarterback launches the ball and it's off the camera. Because it's going to be an 80-yard bomb. And you stand up off your seat like, oh, and you're, oh. That moment of excitement, that happens, I would say, like 3 times during a football game?
3 to 4 at
probably.
most. There are games with that.
Yeah. That happened, I promise you, that night, which was in a very offensive night of hockey. I mean, the final was 6-4.
8-6? 6-4.
6-4.
Okay.
I promise it happened over 30 times. That moment happened at least 30 times. It's just, first off, this is a random point too. Keeping up with the puck is a lot easier in person than it is on TV. It's so much easier. I don't know why.
I've often said, like, I don't know how they do it. I'm like, could not be a goalie.
It's so much easier.
Can't tell you
now,
what
we were, because honestly, I don't know. We got our tickets. We were 12 rows from the ice, so like I was decently close. So obviously, like, I'm sure if you're up in the nosebleeds, it is. Honestly, it might be easier then though, because you can see like the whole ice. I don't know, but it was easier to keep up with the puck in person than it is on TV. I don't know why, but it was. Something is constantly moving. I don't know if I would say it's constant action, because there are times where, especially if it's on a power play, you're just icing over and over and over. And I can get that. But
still, though, you're on the brink at any given point. Other team gets the puck on a power play, and in literally 2 to 3 seconds can be in scoring position.
Yeah. Quite literally, any like 5 seconds, something could happen. Quite literally, I think.
Yeah.
The fights, there were so many fights. The fights are fun to watch. The whole crowd stands up, and they started playing like Rocky music and stuff, and guys are just beating the crap out of each other. The power plays are fun. The big hit, somebody smashing each other up against the wall. It's so much fun to watch. Now, I'm so curious to hear what you said you would bust my balls about, because like it's not my favorite. I don't know if I would say it's my favorite sport overall, because I haven't played a second.
I assumed by you asking this, and I kind of knew hockey was on the mind and stuff like that. I think you led on to that pretty easily. I was like, we're going to rank our favorite sports, and he's going to say hockey's number one. And I'm trying to think it through, and I'm like, I wonder how much of that is just because the Dolphins have repeatedly disappointed him. Because I'm telling you right now, if the Dolphins were the Chiefs, literally swap everything, names, Super Bowls, players, everything, you'd be over the moon right now and in the greatest sports era of your life. And I still think that's true. Even with the Panthers being great, even with you going in person, Panthers are going to be competitive again this season. Very, very good this season. They will be very, very good.
Right.
The second that and I'm seeing it again with my dad, with the Commanders being 4-1 and things like that. Yeah. It's like the second your football team is good. This is true for almost all of us in the whole country. Almost all of us who have like even passing football interest. When your team is good, it's so different.
Right.
The second the Dolphins are really good again, it'll happen eventually. It might take forever. Like Detroit Lions fans had to wait like 50 years. I get it. It's not fun. That's an extreme example. But like, the Dolphins are suffering at one of the worst degrees in the entire NFL. You have Marino in the 80s and the 90s. Sports. So it's like, it's not been that far removed from when you guys were really good every year and had a lot of expectations every year. And so I think the second the Dolphins are good again, I think you'll reevaluate, is what I was going to say. I thought you were going to say hockey number one and the Panthers, and I'm like, dude, I think a lot of that's because the Dolphins aren't that great. And WVU never really has a lot to cling on to. And I'm pulling for you guys. I thought you guys could win the Big 12 this year. I really did. And make the playoff.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. So I was going to bust your balls and be like, I'm telling you, a lot of that is recency bias. Now, that said, though, you're talking about just favorite to watch. No, that's not recency bias. It could have been a recent realization, but I'm not giving you recency bias on that. Hockey's great to watch. And I told my brother-in-law, who got into hockey last season, unprovoked. He decided to become a Blues fan. My pleas to him to be a Blackhawks fan were reasonably met on deaf ears. We're awful. We still suck. We lost in overtime last night. We're frustrating as can be.
Did you go to OT? Okay, I was keeping track of that score. Okay.
Yeah, we lost in OT to the freaking Jets. Jets are good, though. That's a good team. All of that said, I was like, playoff hockey. I told him, I was like, dude, if the Blues don't make the playoffs, which they didn't, I'm like, do yourself a favor and like at least pick like 1 or 2 series as the season goes on or the playoffs go on and be like, just watch playoff hockey. It's unreal.
Oh.
It's so adrenaline pumping, especially when you can pick at least a team. It's like, I kind of want this team to win. Like, I pulled hard for your Panthers the whole way. I really did. And I think you knew that, though. But it was like, God, the entire finals and the conference finals were exhilarating. It was great.
Yes.
So, a lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree with what you said. That like, I said it whenever we won. Whenever the Panthers won, I'm still pretty overall new into hockey. So like, I was obviously very happy to see my team win or whatever. But it's not like the Dolphins where I've suffered for 12 years and now finally we're so good. I didn't suffer for that long. I'm still pretty new or whatever. I still enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy that as much as I would if the Dolphins ever somehow win the whole thing. So yeah, you are entirely correct to say that my heart lies most with the Dolphins.
And that's why I was like, I think football still should be number 1 because I think that's where your most interests lie.
Yeah,
but
I give you that.
Justifications for your actual lists, given the actual circumstances of the list, are very good. So
cool. Now you're number 1. I'm going to take a wild guess and say it's football.
My number 1 favorite sport is the Indian Cricket League.
Whoa!
No, it's football, and I know, like, I do an NFL show. We've talked about it plenty on this episode already.
Right.
I don't need to.
That would be funny if it wasn't. You're doing an NFL show, and it's like.
I was like, I don't even like football. I just do this. I'm in this for the hose. You know what I mean? Like. But no, it is number 1. I don't need to beat a dead horse. Anybody listening probably already knows this about me as well. And it's like, football is my number 1. It's my most favorite sport. It is a legitimate, huge passion of mine. I'm going to take just a second to give an honorable mention to one that I considered putting on this list even before it was just watching. It almost made my top 3 period that I could see some flack for. I put it at 4th in my mind, I think. I'm pretty comfortably put it at 4th, even over hockey. I was wondering what you would have done if I would have put professional wrestling on this list, which calls itself sports entertainment when you describe the qualifications of what it is. You are watching people do things, scripted or not scripted. It is one of my favorite things to watch. So now, I'm out of it big time these days. I haven't watched a wrestling match in like 6 or 7 months, admittedly. Things of that nature. But like overall, it has a lot of the same like lifelong passion that goes into it and things like that. And the overall investment, huge. So...
Right.
But it's not.
Right.
It didn't make it. You wouldn't have busted my balls for that? So
no, I would have allowed it. Yeah, we've talked about it before. I hate the it's fake. Is it scripted? Yes. You go out there and get slammed on a bed of thumbtacks. Go ahead.
It's gonna hurt.
Tell me how fake that is.
It's gonna
buddy.
hurt,
go
bro.
Ahead.
Yeah. You let the Big Show choke slam you from 8 feet in the air and throw you onto the mat.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
you go ahead. Let me know.
You do that. Yeah, my number 1 is football. It's not a surprise to anybody. I'm incredibly passionate about it. I'll do you one better to what you said about the suffering type deal. And I if you don't know my relationship with my wife, you might be like, what does it matter what she says? She's your wife. She's going to side with you anyways. I will regularly like temp check things with my wife to be like, am I tripping or is this fair? Because she'll give it to me straight. She'll be like,
Chat.
No.
Am I tripping, chat?
Yeah. So I'm like, am I tripping or are the Bengals my number 1 favorite team in all sports? And I was like, recency bias. They are. They absolutely are. They absolutely are. And so... That said, I think one of the literal greatest days of my life, short of getting married and the birth of my eventual children, which will all be tied for that day. That'll have to be a tie, an X-way tie, however many ways, is going to be when the Bengals win the Super Bowl. And you talk about the suffering. It's unique growing up a fan of a different team, but I was suffering with that team still. So, like, the suffering is still going to be real. And now enough time has passed, too, to where it's like, I didn't just jump in and they won a ring in 2 seconds. You know what I'm saying? So... Whenever it happens, if I'm 25 or 55 or 75, please God, don't let it be that long. That's going to be one of the greatest days, and that is going to be one of my top moments as a sports fan. Like I've told you this before, have to check myself and be like, oh my God, Michigan won the national championship, dude.
Yeah, I see the banner right there.
Huh. And I still think.
What are you gonna?
What?
You go ahead. Sorry. You go ahead.
The Bengals winning the Super Bowl will still be my greatest day as a sports fan over anything. I've watched the Lakers win 5 titles. Or 6 titles, I should say. 6. I really remember 3 of those 6, right? I was, 2000, 2001, 2002 for the others. So all I really remember is I remember when they three-peated. I remember as a little child knowing that they had just won 3. And my dad had a shirt that said three-peat. I knew that.
Very nice.
I watched North Carolina basketball win titles when I was a North Carolina fan growing up. And, Michigan, I just watched win a national title. I've watched the Blackhawks win Stanley Cups. Other than my Cincinnati teams, I've watched all my teams do it. When the Bengals win the Super Bowl, that's going to be the greatest day. So,
what are you going to do if the Commanders somehow win a Super Bowl before the Bengals?
And this is coming off as arrogant to people, as if I'm just brushing it off. I promise I'm not. I'm completely indifferent about it. Because I watched the Commanders play, especially more this season than ever so far.
They're good.
And I watched them,
right
and
now.
I'm like, zero part of me feels like an ex-girlfriend effect on it. That doesn't seem like the team. It doesn't. It doesn't feel at all. They play in the same area. They have similar colors. But it's so different. It's so different than being a Redskins fan.
Right.
That I'm like, oh, and if they win one, I mean, good for them. I have no problem pulling for them. For my dad's sake, even. I'm like, whatever. I told my dad, and I mean this, I'm like, I hope for your sake that they're good. So, yeah, I show no bias against them. I try my best not to. I hate the uniforms. The uniforms are the worst in the NFL, by far. They're the literal worst uniforms in the entire league. So, they have no branding associated with their brand. It's just the W. Okay. So, what were we going to say? Oh, did you do a W? It looked like you did a 1 on my screen because I've got you kind of hard to see.
Oh,
so,
W.
It's just the W. Worst uniforms in the NFL. They change those, and they'll be even easier to pull for. But no quarrels over it. So, and they could, but the way they're trending, if they fix up the holes on their team, they absolutely could win a Super Bowl in the next 2 or 3 seasons, 4 or 5 seasons. Absolutely, they could.
It's crazy.
So, but no, it'll have no bearing on me. So,
all right, cool. Yeah. Well, I think we gave some great reasons as to why these things fit in, and I think we did a decent job too of explaining along the way of like watching versus watching in person or whatever, if that mattered. Yeah, I like our list, pal. I have no beef with these.
Pretty good. Yeah, especially considering half my list just came up on the fly. Just had to give my dad answers because I misunderstood the assignment. I was going to go top 3 favorite sports, and my team allegiances were going to play a big role in it. So it would have been football, baseball, basketball. So,
okay.
Yeah, still not much.
If we did that for me, it would be, I guess, football, hockey, probably basketball.
Yeah, so to me, I still think football is your favorite sport.
Overall, I'd say so.
Cool. Okay, cool. I'm glad to get that out of the way then. There you go.
Yeah. Well,
alrighty, sir.
Let us know.
Anything else from the Herniator? You can let us know at Headaches Pod, or you can not. That's fine. Whatever you want to do.
Do whatever you want to do.
Or you can yell at us at Twitter for bashing our own home state that we're just as qualified to talk about as you are. That's fine. What? It's true. We are. We're plenty qualified to talk about it.
We're all equally qualified, baby.
We are. So, we didn't say anybody living there's dumb.
I said you were dumb.
Me? Did you?
Yeah, I did. You didn't catch that?
When?
Just now.
Oh. Nope, went over my head. So I guess it's true.
My brother, they went to the Comedy Barn in Pigeon Forge, like over the weekend, and he said that they're walking in, and one of the guys was like, "Oh, where y'all from?" And apparently he said West Virginia, and the guy said, "I'm sorry," and then my brother said West Virginia, and the guy said, "No, I'm saying I'm sorry." Great, that's a great thing. Like for any purpose. Who's your favorite hockey team? The Blackhawks. I'm sorry, the Blackhawks. No, I'm saying I'm sorry.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
Yeah, but we're the bad guys. That's fine. I love a little ball busting on Twitter. It's kind of what we wanted from this show. We kind of like wanted to spark some stuff like that. So honestly, like last week, one of our most successful episodes just based off of that alone. So, in my opinion. Ooh, day beat the Giants. If they didn't on Monday, I might not be alive. Who day? I'm kidding. For legal reasons, that's a joke. What?
For legal reasons, a joke. I said check in on your boy.
Check in on your boy if we lose to the Giants on Sunday.
Peace.